Today's video is going to be about mountain bike tubeless versus tubes and whether or not you feel it's worth the hassle of actually changing over. If you like the video, please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Nothing divides mountain bike riders more than whether or not to go tubeless. We've all been riding around for years on tubes and they work pretty okay. Right up to the point when they don't. Now, let's be honest, nobody likes to be out there on a ride with their mates, having a good time and getting a puncture. What a nightmare. Absolute fun killer. Race destroyer even if you're into racing. Now I switched over 5 years ago because I was getting absolutely hammered with punctures. The amount of races where I was coming in way down rankings because I basically had a puncture and spent 10 minutes trying to fix it. And that was on a good day. If it was wet and miserable, well, you know the story. I was fed up with losing the time. And I just thought something had to change, so I decided to go over to tubeless. Now, I'll be honest with you, it was a right pain. It's messy. I tried probably what a lot of people do at the beginning is the guerrilla methods, you know, taping up the rims and then just using the tyres I had. And to be honest with you, it didn't work. It was messy. It gave me an experience, gave me a taste for what it could be, but it was just hard. And I thought, no, something's got to change. So, you know, we talk about the advantages and the disadvantages of different systems, but ultimately, all I can say, hand on heart, is with tubeless, I've not had a flat tyre in 4 years, which is amazing. And it's transformed the way I ride, it's transformed the way I feel about the bike, a lot more confident and everything else. I've had no snake bites, the dreaded double pinch when you've gone over something on the with a tube and it's gone too much of a compression and boom, snake bite. Nightmare. What else have I found with tubeless is, yes, the ride quality. It's so much better. I mean, hardtail, yes, it doesn't have the full suspension, obviously, but it makes such a difference. The ride, it feels like it's gliding over the terrain rather than bouncing around with old, you know, tubes blown up too much. So when I'm riding, you know, the tubes are a lot less inflated. And when you've got the tubes, it's a lot harder and you're bouncing around on the terrain and it takes a lot of energy and it saps a lot of speed. So the ride quality is a lot better. And obviously because of that, having that low pressure is a huge advantage. The low pressure gives you more traction. It's a lot easier to ride, I have to say that. And the one thing that a lot of people do talk about is the weight. It's a lot lighter. Now, is it really a lot lighter? I suppose you could say it's a few 100 grams and rotational weight on a bike is important, I agree. But weight wasn't the main reason for me wanting to swap over. The main reason was quite simply I was sick to death of having punctures. And I think for anyone that's transitioning from a hobby rider who wants to do more serious days out or even get into racing, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's worth the mess. You're dealing with the sealant, you're dealing with the air chambers, things like this I use these days. I've started off using one of these, what a nightmare. And yeah, it is problematic. I can't say any other way. It's not easy. It can be messy. It can be slow. I mean, I spent an hour trying to put a tube on before now and it was an absolute nightmare. But it takes practice. It's like anything. You know, if you want to use something and you've got the benefits, you have to go through the learning curve. I'll do another video on how to actually set up a mountain bike tubeless. But for now, I mean, basically, the easiest way I found was investing in one of these. It was easier and more reliable than the compressor, believe it or not. And it works every time, but that's another story. If you do have a flat out on the trail, one of the other big disadvantages with tubeless is that you do need to put in a tube. And, you know, if you really got to the point where you slice the side of the tyre or something, yeah, it's a pain. But hey, as I say, I haven't had a flat in 4 years. I'm willing to take that chance. And there's products out there that can make repairing that flat a lot easier. I mean, you can put a boot in there, you can put the tube in there. If it's not too big a hole, you can definitely plug it and get going. I've been using stand race, to be honest. I mean, yes, it does clog up the valves a little bit more, but to be honest, I've had no flats, so I'm going to stick with that. One of the other things I've found is the maintenance. You do need to keep on top of it. The sealant can dry out no matter what you're using, especially when it's hot. Something I experienced the other day on a race a couple of weeks ago actually was the fact that it was such a hot day. I'd put the sealant in, I'd blown my tyres up to the regular pressure, but the heat, as I went up and started moving, the heat actually expanded the liquid. And I was like, this bike isn't handling the way it should be. It completely threw me. I was like, what's going on here? Normal PSI amount was put in and all the rest of it. And I got back after the race and I touched these tyres and they were like rock hard. So basically, a lesson learned there was to put a little bit less than what you normally would if you want to keep that ride quality. One thing I would recommend anyone thinking about going tubeless is to make sure that you use a proper tubeless ready tyre. Yes, they're slightly heavier. I mean, we're talking grams here, but again, you've got the sidewall protection. It makes a world of difference. Am I worried about you losing a minute, or not a minute, but a few seconds on a climb? No, quite frankly, because I'm going to lose a lot more if I have a puncture. So it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. So the advantages of tubes, or why you would use tubes, is the opposite of what I've just said, quite frankly. It's quick, it's clean, and it's easy. But, you know, I've got to be honest, the amount of races I go on and I just see one guy after the next sat on the side, ripping their tubes out, trying to replace them. It's just not worth it. It's an absolute race destroyer at every level. And who wants that? And the other disadvantage, obviously, is the punctures, the high pressure. You can't run those low pressures without witnessing snake bites, you know, the little punches when it hits the rim, and that's just a nightmare. New tubes effectively each time, and there's a slight weight penalty. Some people see that as a disadvantage. It's not for me, but hey, you can get these new lightweight hard plastic ones. Again, I've not tested them. I've heard mixed reports about that, and ultimately it's down to you. So would I recommend MTB Tubeless over tubes? Absolutely. It's well worth it. I mean, I've got it down with the kit now, which I'll explain in a future video, going from struggling to fix these tyres on properly and quickly to really getting it down as quickly as I can let the air out, put the liquid in, pump the cylinder up, and then wang it on and done. Takes me about 4 minutes now, so it's a big difference. So my next video I'll be putting together will be how to fix it on the rims correctly, the easiest ways, the little tricks that I've picked up over time. Some products will help you do that. I mean, they're not necessary by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe worth looking at. So if you've liked this video, please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you'll be the first to know when I've uploaded a new video.